Last weekend, March 24-25, Nazareth celebrated its main festival, the Annunciation to Mary by the Angel. On Sunday, March 26, about 100 young people of the Holy Land took part in a day of spirituality in the Jericho area. In the fourth week of Lent, the Franciscan pilgrimage makes a stop at the sanctuary of the Flagellation. Dar al-Majus, the Magi, was inaugurated in Bethlehem, a meeting place and a place of hospitality to help local Christians and support their growth. One of the main missions of the Franciscan friars is education, with 15 schools and almost 12,000 students throughout the Holy Land. Saturday, March 25, Nazareth celebrated its most important holiday, the Annunciation, a celebration full of traditions, meditation, joy, faith, and prayer. During the vigil on Friday 24, representatives of the Christian community gathered in the Grotto of the Annunciation to welcome the Apostolic Administrator of the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem in his solemn entry into the Basilica and to pray the Vespers together. After dark, many of the faithful gathered to pray and to contemplate the mystery of the place where the angel announced to Mary that she would become the mother of the Savior.
È un'esperienza, una realtà che dobbiamo solo accogliere.
This experience is a reality that we must accept. We must see how the greatness, the omnipotence of God accepts to go through the freedom of a woman, Mary, who with her yes, with her full participation made possible the redemption of all mankind. This is such a great mystery. All of our life is not enough to understand it, yet it touches us every time and moves us to welcome this mystery of new life that surprises us and surpasses our understanding.
Una vita nuova che ci sorprende e ci supera.
Saturday morning on March 25, Monsignor Pier Battista Pizzaballa presided at the solemn Mass in the Basilica. Monsignor Marcuso, in the presence of some bishops, numerous concelebrants, and a crowd of faithful, delivered the homily prepared by the Apostolic Administrator.
حياة فينا يصغي أو تقتضي الإصغاء.
The life of God in us involves listening. Mary reopens the dialogue between God and men. Dialogue is not just listening, but being in a constant attitude of acceptance of our neighbor's gifts. Listening means living a life that does not get established nor gets defined on its own. Listening means living in a relationship.
بل نعرف أن حياتنا هي علاقة مع الله.
This year, a special aspect of the festival was the presence of a representation of the Virgin of Fatima sent in commemoration of the centenary of the apparitions in Portugal. We thank God for the presence of the image of Mary among us today, and we hope that 2017, in which we celebrate the centenary of her apparition in Fatima on May 13, will be a year of goodness and blessing for the whole world, that the devil gets restrained and that we begin a new phase. The fact that this image will arrive in Aleppo precisely on May 13 gives us special joy. The Virgin of Nazareth will console and will remain close to those who suffer. The solemn liturgy was the expression of great faith and devotion of Christians in Nazareth and in the entire Holy Land. Today, our entire family wanted to especially thank Our Lady for her protection to 3 of my grandchildren who 2 weeks ago fell inside the pastoral center and suffered serious injuries. Thanks to the divine providence and the intercession of the Virgin Mary, they recovered and were able to participate with us in the Mass of the Annunciation that is the Feast of The The feast ended with the traditional torchlight procession on Saturday evening, presided by the Apostolic Administrator who, by doing so, recalled the 12th anniversary of the Marian procession that he himself initiated when he still was the custos of the Holy Land. About 100 young people of the Holy Land took part in a day of spirituality in the Jericho area. This was a way to express their desire to meet Jesus, to get closer to their peers, and to walk free from the difficulties of everyday life. The young people's silent march started at the monastery of St. George of Kozaba, passed through the Judean desert, and ended at the Franciscan monastery in Jericho. The youngsters were accompanied by several religious and by the youth minister, Father Ahmad Kamal. Young people are an integral and very important part of the Church and of our community in the Holy Land, particularly in Palestine. This period of Lenten fasting in preparation for the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus becomes a very important opportunity to give these young people spiritual food. The young people later received the sacrament of penance and then spent some time in adoration before Jesus and attended Mass in the Latin parish of Jericho. During this silent march and this journey, we also encouraged young people to talk to God, giving them the opportunity to have a conversation with Jesus. A truly unique experience. I have a message for all young people, but especially for those who live here in the Holy Land. It is not enough that we walk on holy ground if our lives are not holy. For a long time, the Franciscans of the Custody of the Holy Land have cultivated the practice of Lenten pilgrimages, a particular act of devotion which consists of gathering and praying together in the actual places of the Passion and Death of Jesus.
Allora abbiamo cominciato questo percorso quaresimale delle
We started the Lenten pilgrimages at Dominus Flavit, recalling the cry of Jesus over the city of Jerusalem, which refused to accept the Messiah. We joined the cry of Jesus, and later we accompanied him in his struggle and agony in Gethsemane, where Jesus taught us how to overcome all temptations and where he taught us how prayer can become the strength behind any persecuted person to truly bear witness to the faith, trusting that God is always near.
Testimoniare veramente la fede senza sentire il Signore lontano da lui.
Here, the Christian tradition places two events of the Passion of Jesus, the flagellation and the condemnation to death. The two sanctuaries are annexed to the Franciscan convent, also home to the Studium Biblicum Franciscanum. The ceiling of the chapel of the flagellation depicts the crown of thorns.
E oggi ci troviamo qui.
Today we are here in this monastery dedicated to this sorrowful event in the life of Jesus, the flagellation, where Jesus proved his love for us, suffering in silence for us and offering it for the salvation of the whole world. The Lenten liturgy begins with the prayer of Vespers, followed by the solemn Mass presided by Brother Alessandro Coniglio, a professor at the SBF. Together with the Franciscan community of the Custody, many religious and local Christians were also present. The biblical text recalls that the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole court around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him and twisted a crown of thorns. First of all, living here means living in a place where Jesus showed us how to face suffering if we have faith. I speak more as a monk than as a teacher. When we suffer in faith, we realize that in silence and prayer we are able to find an incredible force, just as Jesus did.
Ecco che trovo una forza incredibile viverlo poi come.
As a professor here at SBF, I am able to see how great his love is. We spend many hours reading the Bible, also trying to read it in the original languages, studying the archaeology and the history behind the events, therefore drawing as much as we can from this enormous treasure of Scripture in order to get to know more and more about the face of God and proclaim it to the whole world.
e annunciarlo al mondo intero.
It is a typical Palestinian hot afternoon, and in Bethlehem, over 200 people, including monks and authorities, volunteers, foreign and locals, have gathered a few meters from Manger Square, where on Wednesday, March 29, there is the opening of a new guest house.
È un sogno che si realizza.
It is a dream come true. It is a project that was created by a group of friends a bit saddened by the abandonment of the old town of Bethlehem, and especially the Starway Road, one of the main places of Christian culture and Christian roots of this city. Thanks to Providence, we managed with the help of the friars and donors to obtain this house and turn it into a project for the local community.
Questa casa e trasformarla in un progetto per la comunità locale.
Taking inspiration from the homily of Pope Francis on January 6, 2017, and from its historic ties with the city, the new guest house is called Dar al-Majus, in Arabic, the Magi. It is a guest house and a meeting place. It is an opportunity to preserve the heritage of the city and involve the local community. It will become a meeting place for those who want to live an experience of prayer, tourism, or service in the Holy Land.
The summarizing of the project is social community development, because the local society was involved from the beginning, as we entrusted all the operations to local staff and creating new job opportunities. The final outcome of the renovated houses will serve the whole community.
Basically, our slogan should be living an experience. We would like to deliver a special experience that remains in people's hearts. Do not just visit a place. Do not just make a simple pilgrimage. Choose a deeper pilgrimage. Share the experience with people. The word guest is very important. Jesus himself is present in the host, recalled Patton, the custos of the Holy Land, just before the blessing of the building and the ribbon-cutting ceremony in the presence of Mayor Vera Baboun and the entire municipal board. On the roof terrace, the friars of the custody donated the Medal of the Grateful Heart as a sign of gratitude to donors such as the Three Wise Men, ATS Association for the Holy Land, Father Javert Sigris Madrid, and Guya Modespacher Moscatelli from Switzerland. Between the buffet lunch prepared by the mothers of the cooking training launched by ATS a few months ago and the music of the young musicians who live on the ground floor, the words of Pope Francis, who inspired the name of the guest house, returned to mind. Only those who are willing to get in the way will see the star. Schools in 3 different continents and almost 12,000 students, the numbers that document the commitment of the custody of the Holy Land to education are impressive. In 1598, the Order of Friars Minor, who had been in the Holy Land for a little over 3 centuries, decided to found in Bethlehem the first school of the Middle East.
I francescani, quando sono venuti qui,
Nowadays, schools are facing a suffocating financial crisis that still does not prevent us from carrying out our mission, as long as the parents of the students will stay and work with us. As long as we have friends all over the world, we can rely on their support for our many different projects.
Hanno costruito prima una scuola, un centro sportivo, una parrocchia.
Now, wherever there is a sanctuary guarded by the Franciscans, you can also find a school. The last school was built in Cana, in addition to those founded in Jerusalem, in Bethlehem and in Jericho, in Nazareth, Haifa, Acre, Jaffa and Ramleh, Israel and Palestine. The Franciscans also created schools in Jordan, as well as in Cyprus and Argentina. When the Franciscans came here, they came to guard the holy places, but they realized that the live stones need the care and protection of the Franciscans. Therefore, their priority was to build a school, a sports center, and a parish next to a shrine, which is the memory stone. The The generosity of the faithful from the entire world therefore gives an essential contribution to the educational mission of the Franciscans, which aims to accommodate students without distinction of nationality, caste, and especially religious affiliation. The school in Ramleh, a town with a Jewish majority 40 kilometers north of Jerusalem, is a brilliant example of this concept.
المدرسة تقبل الجميع بدون تمييز. تقبل.
This is a field that takes a lot of our resources because our schools, especially in Palestine, do not receive any type of grants except for the constant support of the custody of the Holy Land through the Good Friday collection.
التي تمر بالمسيحيين أو بالمسلمين نذكرها في المدرسة ونحييها.
The school was built in 1728 near the monastery of St. Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea and welcomes nearly 400 students.
المدرسة بمئات السنين هي موجودة.
The school welcomes all students without discrimination and welcomes Muslims and Christians. Approximately 58% of the students are Christians, the rest are Muslims. All of them live together, work together, and get along well. At school, we commemorate and celebrate both Christian and Muslim celebrations.
جميع الطلاب استحقوا شهادة البكالوريوس.
Being a student here in Terra Santa School is one of the best choices I have made. This is a high academic school.
Educating ourselves towards peace, educating our children towards peace. This is the motto of the custody of the Holy Land in schools, in the certainty that a society and a culture in which your neighbor is not perceived as an enemy will gradually bloom year after year in the midst of daily difficulties. The school has existed for hundreds of years. Year after year, we have increasingly achieved great accomplishments. In 2014, for example, we reached the first place among all Arab and Jewish schools in the central area. In 2016, we achieved a 100% success rate for the state exam.
The mission of the Christian Media Center is to bring the message of the Holy Land, the land of the fifth gospel, to the world. Broadcasts, reports, news, documentaries, the latest happenings in the church and of the daily life of Christians in the Holy Land. You can help us in this mission, raising awareness and spreading the message of the Holy Land. Help us. Visit our website,